We're in Storm Center coverage with some intense weather continuing for eastern Canada. Now, we saw on our Sunday freezing rain in parts of Ontario, and that freezing rain very much still a factor. Now moving into eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, and into this afternoon and evening, the Maritimes will be feeling that freezing rain and the associated impacts. Now, it's making for some beautiful winter scenes, but less beautiful if you do have travel plans, because we have seen a number of disruptions, road closures in northern Ontario, power outages as winds really begin to pick up. Just a lot to unpack. But looking across the country to start, we can see some fairly quiet conditions out west, and that is handy on a day like today, because there is certainly enough to cover when we look to the east. Let's talk temperatures. We do see this warm sector of air, and that's kind of where that freezing rain is riding along. And on the backside, much cooler temperatures, which will lead to snowfall, rapid freezing of any standing water, which could make for another hazard there with slippery roads and slippery sidewalks. Meanwhile, let's start with Ontario and Quebec. There's that heavy snowfall to start our Monday in parts of northern Ontario where, that's led to a number of road closures. There's that pocket of freezing rain, which into the late morning and afternoon just continues to move further and further east on the way to the Maritimes. And again, on the backside, we see those colder temperatures and snowfall. Now, it's not just going to be the precipitation, some very intense wind gusts on tap for many across Ontario and into Quebec, but we're looking at parts of southern Ontario with gusts upwards of 100 kilometers per hour, or maybe even more, as things will remain quite breezy into our Tuesday. So in terms of power outages, well, we've seen a number of those, up to 50,000 customers or even more, around 7, 8 a.m. for Ontario. So again, these numbers will fluctuate throughout the day, but just to paint a picture of the power outage impacts we do can expect to continue. Northern Ontario snow up to 50 centimeters. That goes for parts of western Quebec as well. And in southern areas, we're going to be seeing snowfall up to 30 centimeters in the forecast, with those lake effect bands. And again, this is combining with very strong winds, so those blizzard or blizzard-like conditions are expected. Freezing rain into eastern Ontario, into southern Quebec, well, that's going to remain a concern, and the snowfall will be stacking up for areas further north where temperatures are more so ushering in that. Let's take a look at how that's timing out for Quebec. As we see into the afternoon, we're mostly going to be transitioning into that snowfall, as the freezing rain is mostly for the morning, but ultimately shifting over to Atlantic Canada. Now, look at the freezing rain warnings, and earlier it was more so for St. John's and the Avalon Peninsula, but as we get later in the day, the focus of that freezing rain, that's going to be for the Maritimes. So again, there's that pocket of freezing rain earlier on our Monday, and then into the afternoon, the freezing rain, which once we get into the later evening hours, overnight, we're going to pivot to rain for many, although Tuesday morning could still bring some icy precipitation to some. There's a look at that rain, which for Newfoundland will really pick up into tomorrow. And the snowfall, again, that's going to be more confined to northern areas, up to 30 centimeters you saw there in parts of northern New Brunswick. As I mentioned, when we pivot to the prairies, we do see some snowfall kind of slashing across the region, but nothing too major in this part of the country, especially as we wind down these last few days of 2025. Looking at our temperatures, we can see pretty sharp divide here into areas like Manitoba, much colder, especially for northern areas, and then very mild with some above freezing daytime highs for this final Monday in parts of southern Alberta. Now, temperature-wise, you see that trend as we head towards New Year's Eve on Wednesday, New Year's Day on Thursday. Some colder temperatures are on the way for many major prairie cities and the rest of the region. For British Columbia, we're looking at some mild air here as well. You can see some more below freezing temperatures into the interior, but 6 degrees the high for Vancouver with mostly cloudy skies. Just not very active for southern areas. We do see central and northern coastal areas will be getting a good shot of moisture over the next few days, but not much of it making its way beyond the northern part of Vancouver Island, it looks like. And our 7-day forecast for Vancouver is showing that mild temperature pattern staying pretty consistent. Looks like we'll still remain dry for New Year's Day on Thursday, but perhaps the moisture moving in for Friday.